everyone, and welcome to our Ready, Set, Smart webinar series, where we are providing continuous opportunities highlighting how SMART can provide a fluid workflow that benefits teachers and students. We will show you how to create lessons and activities focused on classroom instructional strategies. My name is Michelle Conway Gray, and I'm a professional development specialist from New Jersey. This week's webinar, Station Creation Without Hesitation, I love that title, features Melody Yu, a certified SMART certified trainer from Pennsylvania. We encourage participation. If you have any questions, please ask those in the chat box during the presentation, and we will either integrate them into the flow or hold them to be answered at the end during our Q&A period. We will be sharing resources from today's webinar in the chat. Also, for participating today, a certificate will be provided after you complete a brief survey. At this point, I'm going to turn things over to Melody so that we can dive into today's webinar, Station Creation Without Hesitation.
Great. Thank you so much, Michelle. I'm so happy to be here today and welcome in everybody. I can see we're logging in from like Finland, we've got Chicago, so we're kind of all over, which is really cool. I think that's a really cool part of SMART is we're such a global community, right? So happy to have you here with us today for Station Creation Without Hesitation. So today our focus is mostly going to be on how we can use the Smartboard as one of your stations or your centers, right? Us in the pre-K to second grade world, we love to incorporate stations and centers within our instruction. It's a really important piece of our classroom routines and instruction. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. We already ran through our introductions a little bit. Michelle's going to be in the chat if you do have any questions. It seems like we've got a smaller group as well, so feel free to flag me down if you have any questions about what we're looking at, and I would be happy to stop and explain a little bit. Okay. So my first question to you guys actually is, if you would in the chat, just let us know what kind of centers or stations do you already use in your classroom. So we'll kind of give you a minute there. While you are typing, I was just going to ask Michelle, what is your favorite station or type of station that you've used?
I love a good station where there's some sort of like tactical, manipulative, problem solving. I was a math teacher, so I always loved a good math station every once in a while, for sure.
Absolutely. I love those too. I think I'm seeing. Yeah, so we have the math stations. We actually do have some manipulatives that we're going to take a look at on the Smartboard, so we'll be able to show those off.
Writing, listening to reading, word work. Some people use their Smartboards just to present PowerPoints.
Okay, well, awesome. So today, hopefully, we'll be able to show you how you can extend that usage beyond, just for PowerPoints or presentations. You can actually get students up here and interacting with it independently too, which is that's like the big thing, right? Is once your students know how to use it, the Smartboard kind of runs itself as a center. Right.
And then Marit, she uses learning stations in teaching languages. So very cool.
That's awesome. All right. Well, then let's go ahead and check it out. So today, we are actually going to show you how you can use graphic organizers that are built in on the board as a station. We'll also be talking about some digital manipulatives that are on here. And then we're also going to show you some options for small group collaboration. So again, our focus is really how you can use this board just by itself, right? So if you have this board, all of these elements are built into the IQ system, which is just our fancy way of saying like what's already built in on the board. This has nothing to do with like software. I'm not building this lesson separately. I am literally just going to build some activities right here. And I'm going to show you how, okay? So let's go ahead and start off with some graphic organizers. I'm going to show you two different types of activities for these two, and then the last one we'll kind of talk about how you can use that small group collaboration separately. So if I go over here Okay, I'm just in the whiteboard right now. If I go over here to my little box with the plus sign in it, I'm able to open out just to view all of my ready-made resources. And you'll see that under graphic organizers, this little purple button here, I've got a whole bunch of different graphic organizers, right? And the sky's the limit here. If you can think of a different way that you would like to use these, you are welcome to. Like, just because it says basketball court doesn't mean I have to be a basketball coach in order to use it. Maybe you think of a different way. I'm going to show you two different options here for how we might use these as a station. So I'm going to go ahead and open this content mapping graphic organizer, okay? And I'm sure you can think of some different ways that you would want to use this, but I'm going to use this as a math center. So my setup for this, let's say I have a group of 4 students, like sitting right here at the board. I'm going to use this, let's see, I pick up my pen and I'm going to write the problem. Maybe I'm teaching 2nd grade and we are doing double-digit addition. So I'll say like 25 plus 14. Okay, and now my station activity is very simply going to be, I'm having my students on the floor, they have their whiteboards, and I'm saying solve it in 4 ways. Show me how you solve it, right? And what's really cool about this is because you have 2 pens, or you could turn on the finger inking here, which allows you to do multiple touch points. You could have all of those students up here and writing it on the board. So maybe one student is going to do, you know, if you imagine those as like our 10s and 1s, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe one student is doing this. Oops, I have too many. 25. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so one student might be using pictures to solve. Another student might actually be doing the vertical method. Another student might be doing something else, right? So this is one way that you might be able to use something like a graphic organizer to be a center activity. So hopefully that makes sense, right? You could also very easily, like, let's say I'm going to go ahead and erase this. Maybe I want multiple pages of this. So not just one problem, I want like 5 pages of problems. I could just go up here. I'm gonna go ahead and press plus, just add another one. And I could very easily just set up multiple pages and teach my students, hey, you're gonna press up, you're gonna press down to get to the next page. And that way I have very easily set up a quick center activity.
Yeah, I love how you use this graphic organizer for them to show like different ways that they're solving 25 plus 14. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. We good in the chat?
Yep.
Perfect. All right, we're just gonna keep moving right along because we got some limited time here, you guys, and I want to show you as much as possible. So that's one option. I'm sure you can imagine some different options as well. If you do have some different ideas, feel free to drop them in the chat, how you might use this activity. And while you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and move on to another graphic organizer. So the other one that we can look at here, obviously there are very, very many that you can see right here. I am looking for this 2 column right here. So this one I actually like to use as an easy matching activity, right? And again, just because it's 2 columns doesn't mean I have to use it in a specific way. You can use it however you want, right? So for me, I used to teach kindergarten. So maybe for this, I'm gonna do a really quick like upper and lowercase letter matching activity. So I could do A, B, C, D, E, and I'm gonna mix them up over here. A, B, C, ooh, D, E. Okay. Again, really fast. That didn't take me much time at all. Just kind of threw it together. Maybe I just had like 2 minutes in the morning before the kids come running in. I'm thinking, oh, I need something for my stations today. And now I've got something all set up. And the idea, of course, is that kids, not me, right? Not me, the kids can come up and now you could turn on that finger inking, okay? And the students are able to go ahead and make their matches. You could even, if you wanted to, turn off that finger inking and have students come and grab the letter to come and match it. So you've got a couple of different options here, but students would then be able to take turns making their matches, and it quickly becomes kind of a game of sorts, right? Just a very quick one. It didn't even take me 1 minute, I think, to put this up there. Okay. And those are two very, very quick stations.
Yeah, I love that you're just making it so effortless. I think we sometimes just overthink sometimes, and it's just something as simple as this that could be a station.
Oh, totally. I personally would spend a lot of time like printing out like alphabet cards just like this. I would print them out, I would laminate them because you don't want them to get all ruined with the, student fingers. So you could reuse the cards. Then I would cut them all and put them in little baggies and they all get mixed up anyway. Whereas this way, I just
Totally.
threw it together really quickly and now I can reset them if I want, right? It's the cleanup is a lot easier. So yeah, it's just when you're in a pinch and you need a quick station, this is a good tool to use.
Love that.
All right, any questions about this one? I know we're going pretty fast, you guys.
Nothing in the chat.
All right, sounds good. So those were kind of two options for graphic organizers. Again, if you have any other ideas for how you might use those, please go ahead and drop them in the chat. Since we are a pre-K to second grade session, I'm trying to stay focused on skills that you might be covering in there. Okay. So next up, we are going to take a look at how we can use manipulatives on the board. Once more, I just really want to emphasize that these are built in. I didn't go anywhere else for these. These are just already on the board. So I'm going to go down to that plus sign again. Right underneath graphic organizers, you're going to see it says manipulatives. So if I tap on that, there are a whole bunch of manipulatives here and they're constantly adding to them. So actually, I do want to mention here as well, they're constantly adding to the graphic organizer section. There's actually a bunch that I didn't realize were on here. And they are also adding to the manipulatives. They're also always looking for ideas. So, manipulatives are huge for our grade levels. So if there's something not on here that you would like on here, make sure that you go ahead and use a request to feature. And that way, the developers will know, oh, they really want, I don't know, counting bears, or they really want buttons or something like that. So make sure that you're using your voice because you guys are the ones who can make those suggestions and affect change. So for the manipulatives, we're again going to take a look at one that is more for like ELA, and we're going to look at one that's for math. So let's go ahead and pull up. I'm going to grab this making words lowercase letter tiles. Okay, and I'm going to make a center out of this. So basically a manipulative just means that all of these tiles are infinitely cloned. So what I can do is grab a letter from the bottom and I can make a word. So I've got, bat over here. Okay, I'm just gonna put those back. But if I want to turn this into a center, right now it's kind of unguided and my students would I could totally picture students just grabbing any random letter and putting them up here, and I don't really want that. So I'm gonna use a widget. And I love using widgets to turn my activities like more engaging and interesting, but also give a little bit of guidance when maybe I'm taking a guided reading group and I'm sitting at the back table. At least that will help my students to know what words they are building. Okay, so this is our widgets button here, and I'm just gonna press that. You'll notice I have a bunch because I've got some customized widgets. So don't worry about those too much. I'm gonna tap here at the spinner. Okay, and now I've pulled up a spinner right here. So I am going to just grab that. I'll make it a little smaller. And what's really cool about the widgets on the board is that you can customize it to say what you want. So I'm gonna go in this little drop down arrow here. I'm gonna press settings. And now you can see that I'm able to add text to my widget. So I'm gonna just put a couple of consonants here, like C, B, S, and P. Okay, and you're also able to add more slices if you want. I'm gonna leave it at 4 for right now, just for simplicity. And I'm gonna go ahead and add another spinner. And I'll show you what I'm thinking. Let's, customize this one. I'm gonna add some word families on this side. So like at, ought, it, and let's do et. Okay. And I'm just going to use this back arrow to go back. So now maybe you're starting to put together what my thoughts are here. If my students spin the spinners, I've got one on C, and then this is AT. Okay. And then they can take turns saying like, oh, what's that word? It's at cat. Okay. To make it a little bit more interesting, we could add a picture here. So maybe I'm going to search the word cat. I can go ahead and add a picture of a cat.
So cute.
I know, this is a pretty cute picture too. And students, again, they can just take turns. This time we got CIT. So this would be an interesting spot for students to discuss, right? Oh, is that a real word or is that a nonsense word? Okay, so depending on where your students are at in terms of their understanding or in terms of segmenting and blending, they may be able to talk about that, or if they can't, then they can't, right? But this is still a really valuable experience. And also, again, this is just running itself. Like once your students know, oh, I spin this and then I can drag the letters, you don't have to be here managing this station. What is this one? That one's, I think it's SOT, soft, right? The other thing you could have them do is if they have like a journal that they keep, you could have them write these words in their journal. And maybe they're not sorting real and nonsense on the board. Maybe they're sorting real and nonsense in their journal, right? So something else I always like to mention is you don't have to think of this as an isolated center and tool. I think earlier during the graphic organizer, I had mentioned maybe students have a whiteboard that they're solving the problem on first, right? With the graphic organizer math problem. They could totally have a whiteboard, a journal, or maybe a worksheet that you have, like you're accompanying with the center on the board. So, you know, technology doesn't have to be isolated from our traditional mediums, right? We can use both of those things together. Okay.
Yeah, I love how dynamic this can be, and you can
Right.
even, they can, like you said, first start making it, then they can bring a picture out. Now they're sorting in their journal. You have like so many levels to this one little station, and all you really had to do on your end was pull out the manipulative and then have the widgets as well ready to
Exactly.
go.
Exactly. And then these, obviously, you can change based on, you can just change them up anytime. Like maybe we're done with those. Maybe we're learning about digraphs now. So I'm going to use CH, SH, TH, right? So it's really just you customize it based on what you want and what you're teaching.
Yeah, I love it.
All right, awesome. Were there any questions in the chat? We're doing good?
There's a couple comments like I love the making words manipulatives. They use it a lot with their
Great.
EFL students, and then hopefully one day the widgets working in Lumio.
Yes, yes. I know that that's definitely on the radar. I have seen it in the requested feature. I bet there's a you guys can vote. I bet there's one on there and you guys can vote and that will kind of like bubble it up to the top.
Totally.
Yes. That's one of my favorites and like my requests too. So can
I'm
totally relate.
secretly in there every day
Yeah.
voting. Don't worry.
All right. So that was our ELA example. Gonna go back to that plus sign and let's choose a math one. So I tend to really like oh, you know what? So actually, I'm going to show you something else. So there's a ton of math manipulatives here that already exist. I do really like the coins one. Just speaking as kindergarten, pre-K through second grade, we know how much the students can get confused when it comes to coins. So it is really nice to have all these on here. I'm actually going to show you how you can make your own counting manipulative though, because maybe you want different counters. Maybe you want to engage your students in a different way. So I'm going to go to the plus sign and I'm actually going to just add a regular old whiteboard page. Okay, so it's just totally blank. I could choose a background if I want, maybe, I don't know. I'll just do this one. Okay, so you could change the background if you would like to, but let's say I want my students to count, I don't know, like 7. Okay, so I don't want to just use those like red and yellow counting chips, and maybe I don't want to use the manipulatives that we have here. I know that my students, they really like and respond to dinosaurs, okay? So I'm actually going to go over here and I'm going to type in dinosaur. And we'll see what pops up. Okay, that's a pretty cool T-Rex. Just make it smaller. And now what I'm going to do is turn this into a manipulative. And you guys would be so surprised at how much just something like this interests our littlest learners, right? Like if they feel like their interests are represented, you get so much more buy-in. They're like, oh my God, a T-Rex. So what we're going to do is tap on that image. I'm going to open the drop down. I'll hit infinite cloner. And now when my students are up here doing their counting activity, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, they can count 7 T-Rexes instead of 7 like circles or 7 squares, right? It's just a little bit more interesting and it gets them more engaged. You could ask them for suggestions like, hey, what do you want to put up here? And maybe it's like a Pokemon, or maybe it's a different cartoon character that they're all into right now. I know one time, and again, this is just as easily, you can make a new one, put up a new number, okay, just set it up. It'll only take a couple minutes at the beginning. And I know one of my students really liked a character named Gracie from Gracie's Corner. I actually don't know it. Let me see if I can find it. Gracie's Corner. Yeah, there's Gracie. So a student I was working with really liked Gracie from Gracie's Corner. And this is just another way, if you have some really reluctant learners or kids who don't want to come up, this is a way to get them engaged and get them interested. Like learn about what do they like, and just a very quick and easy way to incorporate that into your activity. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. So, I showed you the manipulative section, but keep in mind that you can create your own manipulatives if you would like to. So you don't have to just use the ones that are available. You are able to infinitely clone like anything. This is also true for pen markings. So maybe you have a student who drew something, okay? I think it'll grab it all, yeah. So I just drew that smiley face. You can even infinitely clone that. So any text, any images, any pen markings, those can all be infinitely cloned.
Yeah, I love that you're kind of like relating to them a little bit, and a lot of students love that you're taking the time to get to know them, and then they'll be more open to something like this for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we're good on this one?
All good.
Perfect. So the last thing that we're going to talk about here is working collaboratively. Again, we're going to go back down to that box with the plus sign in it. And I'm going to go back up to graphic organizers. I have a very specific one I'm thinking of. You don't have to use this one, but I just like to use it for this example. So I'm using the notes 4 column. Has these 4 boxes. And what people don't often know about the smartboard is that you don't have to use this exact space. You can actually use your 2 fingers to zoom in and zoom out. Not a lot of people know that. It works just like a tablet or our phones do. So what I will do a lot of times with this kind of activity is I have 4 groups, like 4 stations. I'm gonna go in here and I'll say like group 1. Okay, gonna set up group 2, and group 3 and group 4, and so on. Okay. And what I like to do on these pages is say, maybe I'm asking them, okay, group 1, you're gonna look for all of the trick words or sight words or heart words. I know there's a lot of different ways that we call these. You're gonna look for all of those in the book that you're reading together, okay? So those are words, I'm just gonna write a couple down, like the, said, okay, so that's group 1's work. And then when it's group 2's turn, ding, 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 time to change stations, we just move right on over to this box. And now group 2 is gonna look for words. So maybe their words are he, she, we, okay? And what I love about this is that at the end of class, we can all come back together. I will pinch this small and I'll say, wow, look at all of the words that we found today during our reading time. Like, you guys did a great job, and we can talk about all of the words. Maybe they'll notice that some of them are repeating, like, oh, wow, we see the word the a lot in our books. That's, it's really important to know that word. Or maybe we can talk about, oh, I don't know that word. Like, that's not a sight word. That's not a trick word. So you kind of open the door to having a lot of different conversations. You can also use different skills for this. My example was sight words, but you might use it for math problems. You might use it for other concepts. Like, I know we talk a lot about solids, liquids, and gases. Maybe you're having them look for examples of those things, right? And then we can pinch out again and just talk about all the work that we did during center time, and just collectively what all did we do today, what all did we learn today. And I think that part is really important, just to show them we want to reflect on our learning. We were all doing this together.
I've never thought about pinching it in and out like that. And you already gave me such a good example of like maybe it's a math problem and see how group 1 solved it. How did group 2 solve the same problem?
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah, yeah. And it's so easy to just, you know,
Mm-hmm.
hey, group 3, go ahead. And you pinch out, and then, okay, now it's group 4,
Mm-hmm.
right? So yeah, just a very quick and easy station. Even if you're not going to pinch it closed and show them all at the end, this is also a really easy way to collect group work for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can pinch out and see like, okay, group 1, maybe if it was a math problem, I'm seeing like, oh, they didn't quite get there, or like, oh, I can see where there were some errors, or things like that. So this is just a good way to collect information for you as well.
Mm-hmm. I love this.
Great. So, those are all of the examples that I have to share with you guys today. So as we were going through, hopefully your gears were turning. Were there any ideas that came to mind for you guys? Go ahead and drop them in the chat if you happen to have some ideas. Give you a moment to do that. And while we're waiting, I do just want to emphasize again, like you have all of these resources available to you. They are all built in. And just because it says one thing does not mean you have to use it that way. I think that's the main thing I'd like you guys to leave with today is like you can use these for whatever purpose. I just want to mention this example because I love it. This is called the handwriting house on here. So you would think that, okay, the way I'm using this is to make letters, right? But I was chatting with an early childhood teacher a while ago who, we talked about how you can zoom in. You can zoom into any page, by the way. It's not just, you can zoom into any page. And she mentioned, oh, I want to use this to talk about stories, like beginning, middle, and end. Like she wanted to use this graphic organizer to talk about the beginning, middle, and end of a story. So however you would like to use these, don't let the title or don't let the initial idea of like what it's supposed to be limit you from how you want to use that graphic organizer or how you want to use that manipulative. Okay. How are we looking in the chat, Michelle? Looking good?
Pretty quiet. Yeah, all
Okay.
good.
All
People
right.
say it's beautiful and well organized.
That's great. I'm glad. I'm glad. All right. So hopefully now you are, maybe you're just having some ideas spinning in your head. We talked about how to create some literacy and math stations using a graphic organizer. We added some images. We've also talked about manipulatives. We also talked about how to expand your whiteboard space a bit. And we even talked about how to use a widget, right? We used our spinner. There's other widgets as well. I personally really like the spinner and the dice. Those are my favorites. But you could always explore some of the other ones as well. So what we've got down here, share in the chat, what will you try with your students? What do you think that you will try?
They just said thank you for all the great ideas. They can't wait to start using these ideas as centers. I can't stress enough how effortless you made it. Like I I remember when I was in the classroom, it would take me probably a whole week to prep like all the stations that I was going to have for the following week, right? But you just made it so, some people I've noticed a lot of times the smart board's like just the timer and they're missing such a good opportunity for the smart board to actually be the station, and you made it look so effortless to prep that as well.
Oh yeah, I think that was a game changer for me too. And the fact too that I could close this, right? Like my stations are in there. I could close that. And then maybe on a day that my students need review or just a day that, I just need a station and I hadn't had one prepped, I could just as easily open that up. My students already know how to use it. They already, know what the rules are and all that. I'll just pull back to the page. Maybe I set up a different problem or maybe I set up a different spinner, but it's all there, right? It's
Hmm.
already all there. So you don't have to recreate the wheel again. And I say that because I don't know how many times I have cut out and prepped a center and then realized like, oh no, I'm missing like 10 cards.
Hmm.
And I'm like, oh, I gotta print these again. I gotta laminate them again and cut them again. And here there's no way that you're gonna lose all that. Or it's just a lot faster to put it back together, right? you don't have to go through all the stress. Right. Well, great. So I think we can go ahead and move on to questions. So if you guys have any additional questions, we are here for you. Otherwise, we do have that survey so that you can get your PD certificate. So don't forget to fill out the survey. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. Hopefully, you got at least one thing, one new idea out of spending time with us today. And we hope we see you in another session soon.
Perfect. Yeah, so I dropped all the links in the chat. So I dropped the IQ links in the chat as well as
Awesome.
the survey. But yeah, I just want to thank you all for joining us today for our Ready Set Smart webinar. It's a pleasure to be with all of you. And I also really, really want to thank Melody for taking the time to give her insight on how she does station creation without hesitation. So don't forget to complete the survey. Remember, you will receive a follow-up email with the recording of this webinar and any resources that we shared to help you on your smart journey. Thank you so much, Melody.
Of course.
And we do have like one more question. Are you able to save worksheets? So it would just be saved on that file on the board.
Yep. Yeah. If you want, Vanessa, if you want your students' work to be saved there, what I would do, like let's say you want each group's work to be saved on an individual page, what I would do is duplicate your page for however many groups you have. So if you have 5 groups, for example, I would make 5 copies of that page and then probably label like group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4, group 5 on the top. And then when that group comes up, just have them, page down to their number. And that way it'll save whatever they've done on that individual page. And the reason I just suggest that is because if you only have one page, then it has to be reset for each new group, right? And so you'll lose whatever they were working on the, you'll lose group 1 stuff if group 2 comes up and gets rid of it all or resets the activity. So just something to keep in mind.
All
I'm
right.
so glad.
Yeah, well, thanks, Melody, for joining us. And I'm excited to hear more about how people are using stations with their smart boards.
Yeah, great. Get them up there. Get those kids
Yeah.
up there. They love touching the board.
Yes, yes, totally agree. All righty. Well, we will be ending this webinar and we want to thank you all for joining us.
Have a
Bye-bye.
great rest of your day.